Hey, JK here. I want to thank you for sharing part of your day with me. 30 teams in 30 days is now taking us to the Arch in St. Louis. We're going to be talking about the Cardinals, who finished second in the NL Central with an 83-79 record, the same as their hated rival Cubs. And this team is definitely older. This team has experience. We're going to talk about that more so with the pitching. But this team definitely has some stuff to prove. Not only because they didn't perform as well as they wanted to, but because of injury history, because of rumors over the offseason, mainly just because of not getting to the playoffs when they did have good talent and every opportunity to. The team leaders for the offensive categories are kind of all over the place. You have Mike Ciani or Ciani. He led the team in stolen bases, while Lars Nootbaar led the team in walks. Alec Burleson led the team in RBIs and slugging, while Mason Wynn led the team in triples and runs. Goldschmidt led the team in total bases, home runs, and strikeouts. And Brendan Donovan led the team in everything else, including at-bats, hits, doubles, average, on-base plus slugging, and slugging. So, kind of all over the place, but that's not terrible because you don't rely on one person for everything. So if one person did go out, did get injured, did have to be removed from the game, or was traded for some reason, you would still have contributions. Now, the one man I really want to talk about this year who is going to absolutely go off because he's pissed off is Nolan Arenado. Now, I don't think he's going to go back to Colorado Rockies prime all-star peak Nolan Arenado, but he's going to look at 2024 numbers. That's what I did. Watch this. He is going to go off. Again, because he's pissed. He was on the trade block all year. And then he said he would move to first to facilitate a trade. And everyone wanted to kick the tires, but no one wanted to pull the trigger. So he is going to now come out and say, you all passed on me? Especially my Yankees. Come on, man. You all passed on me? Watch this. And he is going to, I think, have 85 runs scored, 35 home runs, and at least 100 RBIs. He might trip into 5 stolen bases. But the average is going to be like 280. Yeah. That's what I'm thinking. That is my prediction for this year. I was 20% right with Rhys Hoskins, but he also missed a little bit of time with injury, so could have been a little closer. But that is my prediction for player for this upcoming year. And, of course, I only have him on like one team, which is unfortunate. I love Nolan Arenado. I really do. He has been on my team for years, and this year I waited just one round too long to take him on my leagues, but that's beside the point. Another guy I want to talk about is going to look back at 2024 and scoff at his numbers. Paul Goldschmidt. Now, yes, he is getting older. Yes, he did spend a majority of his time hurt this past year. But he is going to look back and say, what was I doing? My chase rate went super high. Didn't steal anywhere near as many bases. Now, again, he's getting older, but he didn't drive in as many runs or near as many runs. So going to New York is absolutely going to change his perspective. He's going to do better. Now, not necessarily going to forecast much on that because I don't want to jinx my Yankees, but he's going to do better because, in my opinion, he has a better lineup around him. There's a man named Aaron Judge in that lineup who it's hard to get around. Okay? Just don't send him a fly ball. Please, God, don't do that. Speaking of the vacancy at first in St. Louis, now that Nolan Arenado is going to move over there now because he wants to show people why he can still play third base and still play at a high level, it's going to be split between, in my opinion, Alec Burleson and Wilson Contreras. Wilson Contreras is going to be moving from behind the plate to preserve his body. He did miss time with a broken forearm and a broken finger last year, and as a catcher, you need both of those. As a first baseman, you also need both of those, but it's a little easier to play. I do foresee Contreras definitely benefiting. Obviously, it's not going to be as much wear and tear on his body. He served behind the plate in Chicago, now coming over to St. Louis. He's done well these past 2 years. He's going to be able to put up 20 home runs. He's going to be able to get people around. People like Brendan Donovan in front of him. Victor Scott going to be stealing bases. Hopefully, Jordan Walker doing something with his life. Those guys are going to be able to benefit from Alec Burleson, and from Wilson Contreras. Speaking of Alec Burleson, he's also going to be spending time at first base, but he's going to be in the outfield. This guy has done nothing but improve all 3 years he's been in St. Louis. 23-24, he had 230 more at-bats, being able to produce 37 more runs, 14 more home runs, and 6 stolen bases. He's going to be splitting time between first and outfield like we talked about before. He's going to be patrolling the outfield with the likes of Lars Newbar, Victor Scott, and potentially Jordan Walker, again, if he can find his life. I do like Alec Burleson in literally every category. He has a good eye at the plate. He's going to be able to get your runs. He's going to be able to get guys around. So make sure, if you have the opportunity to get him, please do, because again, you can play him first and or outfield. Next year, he might lose first, but again, depending on the health of Contreras and how exactly they want to move on with Arenado, again, Burleson definitely going to be outfielder. Could be part of a deep first base that has some stolen bases as well. We've touched on Contreras a few times. He did break his forearm and a finger, landing him on the IL twice last year. So moving from catcher to first is going to help preserve his body, and he's still going to be able to produce at a high level. Those 2 IL stints did stop him from continuing his trend of 20 home runs in a season. That was only the second time in his 9-year career he did not meet that mark. Now keep in mind, 5 home runs short because he broke a bone in his arm as a catcher and broke a finger. So you need those both to play catcher and play first. But then you need him thirdly to hit, to generate power. I feel good about his opportunities and his ability to get to 20 home runs. I feel really good about his abilities to get 60 plus, maybe 70 RBIs, depending on how much the guys in front of him want to dilly-dally around and how much they want to get serious and get on the base pass, get around scoring position, and allow a sacrifice or even just a bloop hit to get them around to score. Now, you might be asking yourself, if Contreras is going to move into first, who's a play catcher? Ivan Herrera. This man came on strong last year, hitting over 300. He's going to be splitting time with Pedro Pejas, which I definitely think it's going to ultimately be Ivan Herrera's job, but obviously Pedros does have a little more experience behind the plate, so it'll be a mix of those two, but I'm leaning more towards Ivan Herrera. We started with 2 guys who were veterans who were disappointed in 2024. Guys who faced some challenges in 2024, but still had some success moving from different positions, breaking bones, obviously. And now we're moving to 2 guys that are young and disappointments. Of course, I'm talking about Nolan Gorman and Jordan Walker. Nolan Gorman did still hit double-digit home runs. I think he hit 19. And he also did produce 50 RBIs, which is great. However, him and Jordan Walker were both hitting right between 201 and 203. Gorman also struck out 5 times more than he walked. So I think he walked like 35 times, and he struck out 151. I know that's not perfect math, but you get what I'm saying. Almost 5 times as many times. So that's not going to be great. Also committing errors. They have other guys at second. They can move in. So Gorman, you have to do better. And currently you're not doing great in spring training. I really don't see you making the team. And if you do, you're going to be a bench role. That's unfortunate because I really like you. I really want you to do well. But you're like Josh Donaldson 2.0 when he was with the Yankees. That's not good. Jordan Walker, on the other hand, had a huge rookie season, was batting .276, was splitting time in the outfield, playing 117 games. And then he did so poorly, he was demoted, eventually went on the IL, and didn't come back. Now, his 2025 is now starting off great. He was running for a foul ball in foul territory, and stepped on a sprinkler, hurt his knee, and he's going to be out for a little bit. We don't know the severity of it, but you don't need anything else to hurt your chances of making the big league roster, dude. You don't. Like, this is such terrible luck for him. And for his sake, I hope he can do well. Last year, I was offered, or 2 years ago, I was offered Sonny Gray and Jordan Walker for Nolan Jones. I wish I would have taken it. I didn't. But halfway through the season, I did send that trade back to the guy, and he never replied, so guess he didn't want it anymore. As we move to the pitching, I just want to start off with saying this is one of the most experienced pitching rotations in all of baseball. That's not always a good thing, though, because with experience comes age. With age comes some deterioration or drop-off. I'll say that, because when you are older, it takes a little longer for you to heal. It also takes a little longer for you to get ready and warmed up and actually be able to go out there and do what you need to do. Now, I'm not saying I could do any better than these guys, but I am saying that this is considered an old rotation. But they're all dogs. They're dogs, man. They go out there, they'll pitch for you. Miles Mikolas did lead the team in a lot of categories. The meaningful categories that you would want, the wins, the ERA, strikeouts, those go to Sonny Gray, though. Holds go to Andrew Kittredge, and saves go to Ryan Helsley. He led the entire MLB with saves, so it's a very good bullpen. That's my favorite part of this entire team. Entire pitching rotation is good. They're decent, but the bullpen, that's where my attention goes, like usual. So the first guy I want to talk about is absolutely Miles Mikolas. This guy spent a lot of time pitching overseas, came back, and he'll go out there, he'll do everything for you, he'll lay his life down. But my gosh, dude, he has an ugly ERA. He had a 5.35 ERA. Golly. Now, despite the terrible ERA, he was still able to get it done. Now, what do I mean by get it done? Dude, you had a 5 ERA. What do you mean? Well, what I mean is he had 15 quality starts. And we'll go back to episode 1. A quality start is 6 innings or more with 3 or less earned runs given up, which are not including errors or other defensive issues that come up like a pass ball. So 15 quality starts, again, despite the 5+ ERA, means that he kept them in the game almost half of his starts. He started 32 games. He also only had 84.5 pitches per start. So in his 32 games that he started, averaged 85 pitches a game. Almost half of those, 85 pitches, were able to get him a quality start. So again, he was able to get it done. He had terrible luck, though. Awful luck. But he's a workhorse. Having just talked about quality starts, I want to go back and talk about the stat that has very specific qualifiers. There were 8 guys in this Cardinals rotation who started at least 6 games for them in 2024. Of those 8 guys that pitched, they only had 58 quality starts between them all. Now, why is that even a fact? Well, look at the Phillies rotation. Look at the Mariners rotation. The top 4 on those teams that we talked about had 70 or more quality starts between them. Now, why is this so interesting for the Cardinals? Well, there are a few guys that were there for a period of time, then hurt. We do have to talk about Lance Lynn. His year was cut short, as was Steven Matz. Matz missed 4 months and came back and made 1 start at the very end of the season, so I don't count that. Then you had guys like Matt Liberatore, who did great in 2023. They want to fiddle around with his innings and send him back down to the minors, then put him in the bullpen, then start him again. They just screwed him up. But he was used as a starter for the Cardinals, and he had 1 great game. He did not pitch any more than 3 2/3 of an inning until the end of May. And that was a 6th inning, 2-hit, 8-strikeout gem against none other than the Braves. So that was his 1 quality start contribution to this stat. Then you have Andre Palante. I think I'm saying that name right. He did not throw more than 3 innings again until May. And then finally started throwing at least 5 innings. So only contributed a few, if any, because we need to go 6 innings, a few, if any, quality starts. And then, of course, we have to talk about Eric Fetty, who came over at the trade deadline from the White Sox. He only started 10 games for the Cardinals. He started 21 for the White Sox. He contributed 3 quality starts. So that's why that qualifier was so important. And with that, we're done talking about the starting pitching. Now we're going to move to the bullpen. This is my favorite part of this team. This is where I had the most pieces, honestly. The Cardinals had the top closer in the league and the 2nd best holds guy and the 8th best holds guy, Andrew Kittredge and JoJo Romero. This team absolutely held the lead after the 7th inning. Now, I don't know the stats on it. I'm sure I could look it up. I just didn't. But I had both Kittredge and JoJo Romero in several leagues and did pretty well in those holds leagues. Now, the only issue is Kittredge is gone. But that allows JoJo Romero to step into a high-leverage situation. They also do have Ryan Fernandez, who was 3rd on the team in holds last year, so he's going to be stepping up. They have added a piece or two to this bullpen, but nothing crazy. Since we touched on at least 1 departure from the bullpen, let's talk about the only addition that I was able to find on this team. Phil Maton, or Matone, however you say his name, came over from the Mets. He's going to be another strong part of this bullpen, increasing the ability for them to start even sooner if there is some faltering with this older rotation. I am excited to see what this bullpen is going to do, even without Kittredge, who unfortunately did hurt his knee. He's going to be out for a period of time this year, but the strong piece is still there. You still have Ryan Helsley, you still have JoJo Romero, and you still have Ryan Hernandez. The important thing is going to be not to overwork them. If there is faltering in the starting rotation, that's going to be some of the long reliever guys. You're going to have to go to them. But these last 3 guys, they're definitely going to keep the lead for you. All right, before we close this out, let's talk about the departures. The biggest names obviously were Lance Lynn, Paul Goldschmidt, and Kyle Gibson. Kyle Gibson was one of the least sexy pitchers in all of baseball, but got the job done. He's a workhorse just like Miles Mikolas. If there is faltering in that rotation, look for Gibson to come back. I don't think they're going to be able to get Lance Lynn because he's already in talks with the Cubs, but you get what I'm saying. I'm excited to see where this team is going, but barring the outfield situation, Victor Scott, Jordan Walker, those two guys, not going to be cutting it for me. I do like Lars Nootbaar. I do like Alec Burleson. Depending on what's happening at first, you're going to have Alec Burleson. You could also have Nolan Arenado. You could have Wilson Contreras. So one of those three guys is going to be playing first. Nolan Arenado is probably going to be a third. Mason Wynn is going to be looking to get 30 stolen bases this year. I don't know if he's going to do it. First of all, he's got to make contact, and he's not been doing that this offseason, and spring training has been ugly for him. So maybe he's able to do that. I don't know. Brendan Donovan is really going to be the playmaker on this team. I do think he's going to continue his trend. He's going to have some decent guys around him. But again, it's going to depend on the health of the pitching. That's going to be the driver. If these veteran guys can stay healthy, get through the 6 innings, and not give up so many runs, Miles Mikolas, I'm strictly talking to you, man. The bullpen is absolutely going to win them games. They're going to be competing with the Cubs for second. I don't think they're going to be beating the Milwaukee Brewers in this division. Too much more firepower than any other team. But speaking of the Brewers, that's going to be the next thing we're going to talk about. We're going to be heading up to Milwaukee. We're not mixing it up with any cheeseheads or going to the draft. We're going to be talking about the Brewers. I think they're the strongest team in this division. I'm going to talk about that tomorrow. They have some good young studs, but very surprising outcomes for some of their stats. But this is JK, and I want to thank you for sharing part of your day with me.